I was supposed to attend the wedding of my friend and my boyfriend's best friend in a few days. However, I just found out that I have been uninvited from the wedding entirely. The wedding is across the country, and the plane tickets for it were over $500 and non-refundable. My parents bought the tickets as my Christmas gift since I couldn't afford them, but it was a lot of money, even for them. My boyfriend is a groomsman at this wedding to a guy who he has been best friends with, and we have been in a friend group with. When my boyfriend asked him what was happening, he said he didn't know they were going to run out of space, so they had to get rid of all the plus ones, and that I was never actually formally invited, but just as a plus one. On top of this, both of the people getting married removed me from all social media. When my boyfriend asked why, he responded that I had disrespected my boyfriend, disrespected his fiancée by talking negatively about her to his sister, and then also disrespected his sister. The conversation he is referring to was one his sister started with me, my boyfriend, and her roommate one day. Everything said was agreed on by everyone in the four-person conversation. Disrespecting his sister? I have no idea where this came from. For context, his sister liked my boyfriend and repeatedly, for months this year, flirted with and tried to get close to him in front of me. She started being quite cold to me out of nowhere when he cut her off. As far as disrespecting my boyfriend goes, I am not perfect and have made mistakes. The thing the groom is talking about specifically was a TikTok I had posted about a celebrity guy being good-looking, even though people like to pretend he's not because of his personality. A conversation I had had with my boyfriend previously. I deleted the TikTok and apologized. So all of this started from the sister lying to the groom. My boyfriend has said he will say something, but not because I want to. I'm doing it for you. That was a slap in the face, as I firmly believe my person would not only stand up for me, but fully take my side and not go to the wedding. I told my boyfriend this, and he said he can't just not go because he's a groomsman, but if we were engaged or married, it would be different. We have been dating for over a year. My best friend, who knows all these people and was also friends with all of them prior to all of this, is out of the country for a year, but I told her what happened. She is furious and thinks I even need to break up with my boyfriend. The issue is, the tickets for the wedding are also where my boyfriend's family lives, and I was going to stay and visit with them for a few days. And then he has tickets to come visit my family right after. I don't know what to do. I am pretty hurt. I wanted nothing more than to have a nice holiday with my family and the man I loved, but I don't know what to do anymore, and it has been destroying me. It is important to note that I love my boyfriend, and he loves me very much. Aside from his sleep schedule, our relationship is perfect, and he does a lot for me. He is very kind and non-confrontational, so this whole situation is driving him insane. I'm not really sure what to do. Do I proceed forward and try to enjoy the holidays, not going to the wedding, or do I call everything off and waste all of the money? I am in a tough spot and unsure what to do. To add, here's some additional information since I have heard a lot of incorrect assumptions in the comments. My initial post was brief because I didn't want it to be too much information or long, but I'm now realizing that was a mistake. I think some clarification is needed in respect to the sister thing. We were long distance over the summer when we were home from university. He lives nowhere near the sister. He was only at school 2 weeks before me, and in that time, she was flirting with him, which he did not realize or shut down. Over the summer, I didn't communicate with him much because I had a lot of things happen in my life, including one of my best friends taking her own life. Because of this, I was very distant and didn't even call him much. I know some people are going to blame me for this, but I was grieving heavily. This left him worried I was going to break up with him due to how distant I was being. Not shutting the sister down was single behavior, and he apologized and made up for it and cut her off before I even brought anything up or asked. But he had been friends with her for a while, so it took him a while to notice. Nobody else knows about this, and the sister has since moved on to obsessing over many different guys. She just holds a grudge. Additionally, we are all religious, and there would be no hooking up involved. The groom would also never want his sister to date my boyfriend for a few reasons, so the assumption they're trying to set them up isn't quite right. I only shared this information to explain what the groom was talking about and why the sister was upset. This was also all well before the TikTok incident, which the groom was the one who was super mad, as my boyfriend doesn't even have TikTok, and he told my boyfriend to dump me over it. As far as being uninvited goes, it was the groom's father who sent out the email officially uninviting all plus ones, unbeknownst to the groom himself, and it was due to a large number of the bride's family being in a small venue that wasn't planned for. The other groomsmen are not bringing their girlfriends. For the people saying, "How can I say he loves me? I am disabled." I had a severe sports-related brain injury that put me in a coma, and I had to relearn how to walk. It has left me legally blind, and with some other things like an inability to read without technological assistance, and no balance resulting in the fact I cannot drive or even ride a bike. My boyfriend takes very good care of me, but I cannot go into great detail about all of this. Just know that he has taken care of and done more for me than anyone else in my life, aside from my parents and best friend. This friend getting married was a friend of both of ours until all of this happened, and even introduced me and my boyfriend. All of this is extremely out of character and has left everyone shocked. Even the groom's cousin and best man is on my side. The bride herself is likely behind all of this, as she always would go out of her way to be rude to me and my best friend, although we were nothing but nice to her. I hope this adds a little bit of context. And to the people saying they hate me because I seem to love drama, I hate the drama more than any of you. It came out of nowhere, and I am unsure of how to proceed, which is why I wrote in. I'm sorry if it's confusing. I cannot see to edit well and am listening to everything. I will update in 48 hours or more as per sub rules. Thank you again to those who gave real advice. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your boyfriend doesn't like or respect you enough to stand up for you unequivocally. His friends don't like you. Your friends don't seem to like him and his friends. Why exactly would you stay in a relationship that constantly puts you around people who hate you? Comment 2. Sounds like they're maybe trying to set the mood for your sister and your partner to get close and personal. The friend group may want them together. Is your partner still going? Now for the update. I need to update you on everything that's happened. A couple of days after I found out I was uninvited to the wedding, my boyfriend texts me about the wedding plans. He mentions that he's going to be staying at a rental house with the groom and his family. I was like, okay, but why? So I decided to call him and talk about the accommodation details. That's when I learned that he thinks staying with the groom's family is more convenient. Convenient for who? Not me. I mentioned that I wanted to stay nearby but not with them, and he just brushed that off like it was nothing. At the same time, my best friend texted me suggesting a girls' trip as a distraction. Honestly, I thought it was a great idea. So after thinking about it for a while, I booked a last-minute girls' trip for the same weekend. The night before my departure, I went to a small dinner with my parents. They brought up the wedding, which led to an awkward silence. I casually mentioned my plans for the trip, and my mom seemed understanding. After dinner, my dad slipped me a note with some money for the trip, which surprised me. Like, I didn't expect that at all. The next day, I met up with my best friend for the girls' trip. We arrived at a beach house that was cozy and welcoming. It felt so good to be there. That evening, we hit a local bar, and that's where we met a group of friendly people. One of the guys from the group seemed really interested in me, which was nice for a change. We chatted and shared stories, and I found it refreshing to not think about the wedding for a while. Afterward, back at the beach house, my phone buzzed with a message from my boyfriend. He asked how the trip was going and mentioned that the wedding was just around the corner. I kept the conversation light and fun, not mentioning any of the drama. Then I got a call from him, and he sounded a bit distant. He asked about my plans for the following week and hinted at the wedding. I casually mentioned my fun trip, and he seemed annoyed by my nonchalance. Like, what else do you want me to say? The next day, I learned that the groom's fiancé had posted a photo of the wedding venue. My best friend pointed out that the groom's sister was in the photo, looking cozy with some guy. I was like, oh great. On the last night of our trip, the guy from the group asked me out for a proper date, and I agreed. I needed a distraction, for sure. After returning home, I met up with my boyfriend, who seemed really tense. He asked about my trip, and I shared my experiences without holding back. He avoided eye contact, and I noticed he seemed distracted. Honestly, I could tell something was off. I decided it was time to have a talk about our relationship and wanted some clarity. That's when he finally admitted that he's been feeling pressured by the groom and his family. Like, dude, we all are. The conversation shifted as he revealed he's not sure about his role in the friend group anymore. I mean, who is? We both agreed to take a step back from the friend group and focus on each other. In a surprising twist, he suggested we should consider a different path in our relationship. I was just like, wow. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Edit. I have received a lot of support and also some criticism about my actions during the trip. To clarify, my boyfriend and I are on a break, not a breakup. We both agreed to take time apart to figure things out. As for my relationship with the guy from the trip, we have gone on 2 more dates. He is nice, but I still have feelings for my boyfriend. I told my boyfriend about it, and he was understanding. We have been texting and FaceTiming. I have also been thinking about the future of my relationship, and I know there is a lot to discuss when we meet. Some people are concerned about the money my dad gave me. I returned it and reassured my parents that I can cover my expenses. Am I the idiot for leaving my husband after he poured cold water on my face to wake me up? Background: my 32-year-old husband and I have a 42-year-old and I have a 7-month-old baby. I exclusively nurse. We did triple feeds the first month because he was born very small and had low blood sugars, and then switched to exclusively nursing because the bottles, pumping, etc. were all too much for us. The baby was spitting up, vomiting, etc. So we are currently only nursing, with some solids introduced during the day for texture and taste. We tried to reintroduce bottles around month 3 or 4, and the baby refused. We've tried straw cup drinking around months 4 or 5, which might have been too early. It's on my to-do list to try again with straw drinking. We had some challenges at first with solids. He broke out in full-blown hives with the first 3 foods he tried, which spanned over about a month to allow breaks to recover between foods. I've also had various health conditions pop up since he was born, so ongoing about 7 months now, that I've been struggling to manage. We had ants a few months ago and I thought I had ant bites all over my feet and legs. The ant bites ended up spreading and going on for months, and I eventually learned that they are rashes, not ant bites. My hands started to break down in rashes too, which I thought was a manifestation of my celiac, gluten intolerance. So I thought it would go away because I haven't been consuming gluten, and assumed I must have accidentally consumed some that triggered a reaction. When the rashes persisted, I scheduled with a dermatologist, and she prescribed some creams, including a steroid and antibiotic, which have been difficult to balance because I need my hands to take care of the baby. I ordered cotton and non-latex gloves to put over the creams, but even getting the time to go through the cream routine, brushing my teeth, etc., has been tough because the baby is so mom-dependent right now and cries a lot with dad despite efforts for them to bond. At months 3 or 4, the baby would take to dad for maybe 5 to 15 minutes total per day, 24 hours. We don't have any other family support, and I'm staying home full-time currently to care for the baby. Our current routine is that the baby wakes up at 6:15 a.m., nurses until about 6:45 a.m., hangs out with his dad until 7:45 a.m., and then dad gets ready and goes to work at 8 a.m., returns at 4 p.m. I usually sleep during that 45 minutes because after caring for the baby all night, we also co-sleep and co-nap. Please don't criticize. It is the only time I get to stretch out in bed and sleep as a solo person and can sleep on my belly or however I choose. It is my only me time. And I choose to sleep after late nights with the baby eating every few hours because I am completely exhausted and need the energy to take care of a baby solo for the next 8 or more hours. Fast forward to today, I was dead exhausted this morning, and instead of letting me sleep, my husband kept insisting I wake up and poured cold water all over my face while I was asleep. It turned into a fight. We hired someone this week as a trial week to help us meal prep because I've been struggling to prepare healthy meals for myself while also caring for a 7-month-old. We were still arguing when she was supposed to arrive, so I suggested we ask her not to come today and we'd still pay for the day and groceries, of course. He got mad, saying the world doesn't start and stop for my feelings, which is true. But we can't have a stranger in our home while we're arguing, and I was still shaken up by the morning, husband smacking me and pouring cold water on my face to try to wake me up. When I mentioned canceling today, he said, "No, she is fired if you cancel her today. You can starve." He says I was faking being asleep, and I kept asking him not to speak on my intentions, and I wasn't fake sleeping. I was actually sleeping. Although sleeping is an oversimplification. In reality, I was half asleep, half awake, half paralyzed by what was going on around me, and too exhausted to even use my words. Half utterly defeated by the complete lack of emotional support I've been desperately needing. I know this post is all over the place. We are just struggling, and I don't know who to turn to for emotional support. I have been asking my husband for months for emotional support, and am faced with invalidation and dismissiveness, and I'm exhausted and don't know what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Fast forward to today, I was dead exhausted this morning, and instead of letting me sleep, my husband kept insisting I wake up and poured cold water all over my face while I was asleep. Take the baby, protect yourself, and divorce this man. Comment 2. Sleep deprivation is a classic aggressor tactic. That's before he poured water on you. He is hurtful. Please read Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft. Begin keeping a journal of his hurtful behavior. Find a lawyer. Leave. Now, for the update. A couple of days after the cold water incident, my husband left for a work trip. Honestly, I felt a bit relieved. I thought, finally some time to chill. I decided to use this time to think about my situation and figure out my next steps. I realized I needed support, not just from him, but from others who've been through similar struggles. I planned a visit to a local community center to join a parenting workshop. The workshop was super refreshing. I met other parents, heard their stories, and shared mine. It was really validating. I realized I wasn't alone in my struggles. We were all doing our best in this crazy parenting world. During the workshop, a fellow mom mentioned a local support group that met weekly. She said it was a game changer for her. I was curious and decided to check it out. I went to the first meeting of the support group a week later. Honestly, it felt like a lifeline. For the first time in months, I felt heard. Everyone there got my struggles, and it felt good to know that I wasn't the only one feeling lost and overwhelmed in this parenting journey. About a week after I started going to the support group, my husband came home unexpectedly early from his trip. Of course, he caught me off guard. He immediately noticed a change in my mood and started questioning me about what I was doing while he was gone. I mentioned the support group, thinking it was a good thing. Instead, it turned into a fight about my need for outside help. He accused me of seeking attention and not valuing our marriage. He insisted I should rely only on him. I stood my ground and explained that I needed support beyond what he could provide. His support was just not enough. I told him this was about my well-being and our babies. This was not just about him feeling like the man of the house. That weekend, we went to a birthday party for a mutual friend, and it was so awkward. I tried to keep things light, but my husband made snide comments about my new friends. During the party, a close friend of ours asked about our dynamic, and I couldn't help myself. I shared a bit about my struggles. Well, my husband overheard and confronted me in front of our friends, accusing me of airing dirty laundry. I felt cornered and just wanted to get out of there. I left the party early, taking our baby with me while he stayed behind. The next day, he sent me a message demanding to know why I left the party. I responded that it was because of his outburst, and he dismissed it as me overreacting. This was becoming a pattern, and I was so frustrated. So I decided to take a break and went to a nearby park with my baby for some fresh air. There, I ran into a neighbor who expressed concern about my well-being. She asked if I was okay, and it just validated everything I was feeling about my isolation. My husband called later that evening, insisting we talk about our issues face to face. I agreed, but I made it clear I wanted to discuss our ongoing conflicts, not just his opinions on what I should do. When we finally sat down to talk, he accused me of being too independent and not acknowledging his role in our family. I was so done at this point. This conversation quickly turned into another heated argument, with accusations flying from both sides. I suggested we take a break from each other to find clarity, which he strongly opposed. He left the room, slamming the door behind him. The next day, I started packing a small bag for me and the baby. I decided to stay with my neighbor, who had offered her support more than once. When my husband came home and found me and the baby gone, he was furious. He sent me a bunch of angry texts. I ignored the messages, focusing instead on my baby and the temporary safety of my new environment. My husband showed up unannounced at my neighbor's place, demanding to see the baby. He accused me of abandoning him. I calmly explained my decision to leave and my need for space to think. He argued that I was overreacting and needed to come back home, claiming everything would be fine if I just listened to him. This confrontation escalated. My neighbor had to step in and ask him to leave. After he left, I made plans to meet with the support group again. I was solidifying my commitment to my well-being, and I was not going to let anything stand in my way. As I began to unpack my things at my neighbor's place, I firmly decided that I would not return home until we had a serious conversation about our future. Edit. I want to clarify that my husband and I have been together for 10 years, married for 5, and this is our first child. I took maternity leave from my job, but things have been challenging between us since the baby was born. He has no experience with infants and seems overwhelmed. He has always been a good provider, but he struggles with emotional expression. He has never physically harmed me, but I do feel emotionally drained. I plan to seek professional guidance soon. Am I the idiot for leaving my cheating husband despite his mother's pleas to stay? I recently found out that my husband, who I have been married to for 5 years and with for 10, had an affair. We have a 4-month-old baby boy who is the light of my life, and this betrayal has turned my world upside down. I have been a stay-at-home mom since our son was born, and I can't imagine being on my own. When I confronted my husband, I never suspected an affair. He has been acting strange, but I would have never imagined this. He admitted to the affair and claimed it had been over for 3 weeks, and that he has been doing the work to understand why he did it. It was a 3-month affair. He said it was the biggest mistake of his life, and he doesn't want to lose us. But the damage is done, and I can't imagine how I could ever trust him again with the details he has told me. The woman he was with was 21. I am leaning toward leaving because emotionally I can't be in the same room with him. What he did is so unlike him. My friends were jealous of the relationship we had. He is loving, caring, a very involved dad, and he would always go above and beyond for me, and so would I for him. The thing is, my mother-in-law has been calling me almost every day in tears, begging me to stay. For some context, my mother-in-law is genuinely one of the sweetest people I have ever met. She is a kind, loving woman. She has no other siblings or other children except my husband. Our son is her first and only grandchild, and she absolutely adores him. She has been like a second mom to me ever since I married into their family, and she has always made me feel loved and welcomed. Now, she is calling me, crying, saying she doesn't want to lose me or her grandson. She told me she thinks of me as her daughter and can't imagine life without me in the family. She is not excusing what he did, but she doesn't want to lose us. She keeps asking me to consider staying, not just for my husband, but for her and my son. She has offered to pay for couples therapy, help with the baby, or do anything I need to make things work. The thing is, I don't know if I can do it. My husband has gone out of his way to take accountability, and he wants us to start couples therapy as soon as possible. But everything he has said so far feels like a list of excuses. The work stress he was under, being a new dad, and that the affair was just an outlet because he loves me and it wasn't about intimacy. I have only told one friend who I thought I could trust, but she told me to consider reconciling. I am too scared to tell my parents, and I don't know what to do. Now for an update. Thank you everyone for the support. I did tell my parents, and they want me to stay with them immediately, which I will do to give myself some space. I am giving myself 2 weeks to think things through, because staying at home with him has been hard. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Sorry, but why does your mother-in-law's opinion factor into it? You're not married to her. And even if you divorce, she can remain a part of your and your son's life. Why do you need to remain married for that to happen? She thinks of me as a daughter. Do you think if she were her actual daughter, she'd be giving the daughter the same advice? Hey daughter, I know your husband cheated on you with a woman half his age for 3 months, but I want you to continue being with the cheater because I can't imagine my life without your spouse in it. In fact, let me give you an even better idea. Go tell your mother-in-law that you cheated on your husband in the past and that your son may not be his. See if she makes excuses for you, like she is making for her own son. I've learned the hard way that your partner's friends and family are not really your friends and family. They associate with you because of your partner. If they genuinely cared for you, they would never tell you to act against your self-interest. Not even going to comment on your husband's affair and his sorry excuses. You already know the truth there. It wasn't a mistake if he kept falling into her female genitalia for 3 months. Comment 2. Listen, all he said are only bad excuses. He didn't do this by accident. He chose to crush your heart and betray you in the worst way possible. This was his choice. He wanted to be with another woman despite having a woman at home who loved him. Millions of men become dads, have stressful jobs, and face many other stressful things and choose not to cheat. But your husband isn't one of those. He is a man who wanted to have intimacy with another woman and did that without caring about the consequences. Yes, you can choose to stay, but as long as your husband blames it on anything but him being a selfish jerk, he isn't taking responsibility. And block your mother-in-law for now so she doesn't emotionally blackmail you into a decision you really don't want to make. She is not your friend right now, but has a selfish agenda and doesn't deserve a place in your mind at the moment. And tell your parents. They should know what their daughter is forced to deal with due to the selfish son-in-law. You should not be ashamed because you have done nothing wrong. Now for the update. I started to feel more stable after moving back in with my parents and focusing on my son. My husband reached out regularly, sending texts about how much he missed us both. Though things weren't perfect, I was getting there. A few weeks in, my mother-in-law invited me to a family gathering at her house. The occasion was my husband's birthday, and she insisted I bring our son. I reluctantly agreed, thinking it might ease some tensions. At the party, my husband seemed genuinely happy to see me and the baby. But things got awkward when my husband's younger sister, Emily, brought up the affair in front of everyone. Emily said something like, "I can't believe you let him back in your life after what he did." The room went silent, and everyone looked at me, waiting for a reaction. My husband quickly defended me, saying it was a complicated situation. It was tense, but we moved on with the party. Still, I noticed my mother-in-law was visibly upset after the incident. Later that week, my mother-in-law visited me to talk about what happened at the party. She expressed her disappointment in Emily for causing a scene and assured me it wasn't how she felt. My husband suggested we go to couples therapy together again. I agreed, thinking it might help address the underlying issues. During therapy, my husband opened up about why he cheated, citing stress and feeling overwhelmed. A week later, I had lunch with my sister, who was visiting from out of town. She asked about the situation and shared her concerns about my husband's behavior. Our conversation changed when she mentioned hearing rumors from mutual friends about my husband still contacting the other woman. I confronted my husband about the rumors, and he denied it. He claimed it was just people being nosy and spreading false info. To clear my head, I took my son to a local park for some fresh air. While there, I accidentally ran into the other woman who was with a friend. I was surprised when she approached me and claimed it was over between her and my husband. She said she never intended to hurt anyone and wanted to move on. That same week, my husband surprised me with a dinner at our favorite restaurant. During dinner, he brought up wanting to take a family trip together soon. The next day, I got a text from my husband's mom asking to meet. We met at a coffee shop where she revealed she had been talking to her son about his future choices. A few days later, I got a call from my sister letting me know that my husband was seen at a local bar with the other woman. I decided to finally confront my husband about the situation after he came home from work. We had a heated discussion, leading to him admitting he was struggling with his feelings and didn't know what to do. Edit: I took time to process everything after our argument. My husband and I had been in couples therapy, but he revealed he wasn't fully committed. He had been seeing the other woman off and on for the past 3 months. After talking with my parents and sister, I decided to separate from my husband and focus on myself and our son. My mother-in-law continues to support me, which helps. My husband is trying to be involved with our son, but I need time. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.